In our previous class, we have already seen that what is the expression for power in AC circuit. AC circuit which has L, C and R, that is which has inductor, capacitor and resistor. So when these three things or when these three circuit elements are available in a AC circuit, then we have already seen that the average power will be given by ERMS into IRMS into cos phi, right? So this is the expression for average power in an AC circuit. Now, if you compare with DC, right, their average power is just E into I or V into I. So if we want to compare these two, then what do we see? Instead of E, there is ERMS. Instead of I, there is IRMS. And we have already seen that ERMS and IRMS are actually the effective values of EMF and current in case of AC circuits. So wherever we have to use the one value instead of this varying value of AC, right? So instead of using these variable values, if I have to use an effective value for one cycle, I'll be always using EMS and RMS. So actually here also same thing has been done, but there is just one extra factor here, that is cos phi. So this cos phi is one extra factor, and obviously cos phi will be what? It will be less than the cos phi will be less than 1. So that means the average power in AC circuit will be actually less than the average power of DC circuit of equivalent current. If same current or equivalent current passes in the DC circuit, then the power will be EI, and here it will be EI, where E and I are actually the RMS values, cos phi. So it will be always less than the DC counterpart. So this is something which we have already seen. Now let's move to the next topic, that is this cos phi, right? What is this cos phi? Even that we have seen. So this phi is actually the phase difference, and we have seen that if this and this in an AC circuit, right? So suppose this was your R, that is resistance, and this was XL minus XC, that is the difference of reactances, inductive reactances and capacitive reactance. And now we have seen that if I join this, make a parallelogram, and then I take this vector, okay, this vector here is nothing but the impedance Z, and this is the final phase difference phi. So from here I can say that this phi is such that, or we have to find cos phi. So this cos phi is actually equal to this cos phi. From this figure, it is equal to R divided by Z, right? So this is cos phi. Now this cos phi is also very important because this is the factor by which this AC power consumed is getting multiplied, right? So this is your cos phi, which is equals to R by Z. And now comes, what is this cos phi? So this cos phi is actually called, or it's given another name called that is power factor. right? So if someone asks what is power factor, so power factor is this cos phi, which is actually a ratio of the resistance and Z. Clear? So that is cos phi. So cos phi is power factor, or this is called power factor. And if you want to write it in other terms, then this R by Z can be written as R divided by root of R square plus Z, Z square, right? Sorry, R square plus XL minus XC whole square. And if you remember, XL is omega L and XC is 1 by omega C. So this is equal to omega L minus 1 by omega C whole square. So that is your cos phi. This is called power factor. Now let's see a special case for this, that is situation in which there is only R in the circuit, that is power in AC circuit with only R. That is, there is no other current elements. There is no inductor, there is no capacitor. Obviously, if there is no inductor, there is no capacitor, then what will happen? Then actually your R will be equal to Z, right? Or simply phi will be equal to 0 degree. This is something which we already know, because in circuits with only resistance, we know that it is a pure resistive circuit, and in pure resistive circuit, this phi will be equals to 0 degree. So if it is only R, then phi will be equals to 0. In that case, this average power will be equal to what? This will be equal to ERMS into IRMS, because cos phi will be 1. So this will be equal to ERMS into IRMS. Same way, if it is only L or only C, then also we'll see. If it is only L, then what will be phi? Phi will be equals to pi by 2. We know that. And even if it is only C, in that case, phi will be equal to minus pi by 2. In both the cases, cos phi will be what? Cos phi will be equal to 0 in both the cases, right? I hope you know this. So in that case, whether it is plus phi or cos phi, in these two cases, the average power will be equal to 0. So we have two cases here. One is, or three cases actually. One is case with pure R, and there we have seen that average power is equal to this, which is actually its maximum value. And in case of only L and only C, we have seen that the average power will be equal to 0. Right? So these are the differences between purely on the basis of power. This is the difference between purely resistive and purely inductive and purely capacitive circuits. So this is the difference. Now, what can we, or what is the conclusion here? The power or energy is not dissipated or not dissipated in inductor and capacitor, and hence they find a lot of practical application and in devices using alternating current. Is that clear? So why? Because the average power in one cycle in these, that is pure capacitors and pure inductor circuit, in those circuits, we see that the average power is 0. So that's why we find its application in many devices, right? Now let's move to our next topic. Okay, so to understand this, we know that this I, the current, right? The current, which is like this, okay, and so this is your current, and suppose in an LCR circuit, there will be EMF as well. Suppose this is EMF, right? So this EMF, suppose this is your EMF and this is current. So two vectors we are showing here. And we know that there will be an angle of phi between them. The final angle between them will be, say, phi. Now, there will be a component of I along E, and there will be a component of E along I. It is possible, right? So suppose we take it along E and we draw a perpendicular line, a line which is perpendicular to E. So this line is actually perpendicular to E, and why we have drawn this line? Because we want something here. We want component of I along E and perpendicular to E. Component of I along E and component of I perpendicular to E. Is that clear? So when we have a vector, we can always, suppose this is a vector, we can always have its two components, right? And whenever we take these components are taken on two axes which are perpendicular to each other. So here these are the two axes which are perpendicular to each other. And suppose if this makes an angle theta here and this is vector r, then along the theta, the component will be called r cos theta, and along the perpendicular, that is the second component, that will be r sine theta. This is the basic which we know. Now same thing we are going to apply here. We have current and we are about to find its component along E, that is EMF, and along a perpendicular line or a perpendicular axis to E. Now before doing that, let's say this is EV and IV, that is virtual EMF, or say RMS. So this is ERMS and this is IRMS. These are the two vectors, that is their magnitude, RMS, both of them, right? So these two axes are perpendicular to each other. Now the component which will be, if this is angle phi, then component which will be along this, the currents component, that will be what? This will be IRMS cos phi. So this is IRMS into cos phi, and this will be what? Another component here will be what? This component here will be IRMS sin phi, right? So this component is IRMS into sin phi. So these are the two components of current, one along ERMS and one along perpendicular to ERMS. Now, what is the purpose behind doing all this? So here what we see is the component IV cos phi. This is along ERMS. This component, that is IRMS sin phi, is perpendicular to E. So it's like this. If there is an object lying here, I am applying a force in this direction, then it will move, and it will move with the maximum, or there will be maximum displacement in this case, right? But if I apply a force in this direction, there won't be any movement here in any direction. If this is a fixed surface, then there won't be any movement, right? That is about perpendicular. So what we see is that it has the scope of movement is along this direction. So if there is a force, the force will have two components, one component along this direction and another component along this direction. And this is this component which will be able to, or which will actually cause change in its position. And that's why this component is actually doing some work. This component is not doing any work. So the component which is perpendicular to the direction of motion will not do any work. We know that. And same thing is here, or similar concept is here in case of potential and current as well. So these two should be in same direction, then only the work will be done. And obviously if it is not in same direction, then you find the components. You will have two components, one component along ERMS, another component will be perpendicular to ERMS. Obviously the one which is perpendicular will not take part in work done. So this IRMS sine theta or sine phi will do no work, will not do any work, right? So the component that is IRMS cos phi, it generates power, right? So as you can see here in this diagram, the component which generates power, right? Component which generates power is actually along ERMS, that is actually IRMS cos phi, right? What about the second component, that is IRMS sin phi? The component IRMS sin phi, it does not contribute to power along EV, and hence the power generated by this component is zero. So this component of current is called wattless or idle current. Is that clear? So that is the component IRMS sin phi. This component, as you can see in this figure, it has no contribution to power or work done. And that's why this component is called wattless current. Watt is actually unit of power. And because there is no power, so that's why we say this is wattless current, or we just say that it is idle current. This is that current which is sitting idle, which is not doing any work. So this component is called idle component, or something which does not do any work. So power here is actually zero, right? How is that zero? This power is equal to E into, this is the ERMS and this is IRMS sin phi, right? And obviously the angle between them is what? Angle between them is 90 degree. So power is V dot I. So you take the dot product of these two vectors. So that is equals to ERMS into IRMS into cos 90 degree into sin phi into cos 90 degree. So that power in this case will be actually equal to 0. This is nothing but your wattless current. Right? So that's everything about the wattless current. Now let's move to the next topic. We have already seen LCR series circuit, right? Next, we are going to see another circuit, which is very important circuit for this chapter. And that topic is, or that circuit is LC, that is the inductor and capacitor. So inductor, capacitor, oscillators. Let's see this device now, or this particular device. Now, what is the purpose of this device? First, we'll see what actually is LC oscillations. Then we'll see where it can be used. So this circuit is actually the parallel combination of L and C, that is parallel combination of inductor and capacitor. Okay, so what happens here? You have an inductor, which is like this, and this inductor is connected in or to a capacitor like this, right? And this is a parallel combination because, or suppose this is LC oscillator, this is the combination of L, that is your inductor, and capacitor. Okay, so initially a battery is connected to it, and when we connect a battery to this, we'll actually supply some power to it. We'll actually supply some voltage to it. So that actually does what? It charges this capacitor. So the capacitor starts getting charged, right? So this is the initial configuration, that is at time t is equals to 0. So what we see here is that the capacitor is initially fully charged. And because this is initially fully charged, the entire energy in this capacitor or in this circuit is due to this capacitor, right? In this L, there is no current, and that's why there is no magnetic field. So what we have to see here is the variation in magnetic energy and electrical energy or electrostatic energy. So in capacitor, if it is getting charged or discharged, there will be change in electrical energy. And same way here, if there is a flow of current, there will be a magnetic field created because it is a coil. So there will be a magnetic field created, and due to that, there will be change in magnetic energy as well. So we show these energies as UB and UE, that is potential energy due to magnetic field and potential energy due to electric field. So at t equals to 0, that is at this situation, we have our UE, that is electrostatic potential energy. So that will be the maximum. Why? Because this capacitor is fully charged and there is no current. So no current in the inductor. So the magnetic energy in the inductor will be 0. Now, what happens that after some time, this capacitor starts getting discharged, right? So there will be discharge in capacitor, or due to that discharge, that means what? Charge will flow. So when charge starts flowing, that means there will be a current, and this current will be through this inductor, and charge will flow with a rate. So there will be a change in current in this inductor, and due to that, there will be a magnetic field developed here, right? So that magnetic field will now, or that magnetic energy will now start increasing, and the electrostatic energy will now start decreasing. Why? Because now there is a discharge here. So you can see here, the charges are shown to be decreasing. That means we are showing that it is actually discharging. So less charges here. So that means we want to show that it is discharging, right? And obviously there will be a situation when UE will be equals to UB. There will be a situation, gradually there will be a situation like that. And ultimately it will reach a situation or a position where this inductor and capacitors are in such a position that this discharge is complete. That means now there is no charge there in this capacitor. So that means what? That means in this case here, there will be maximum current in this circuit, and that's why there will be maximum magnetic energy. So maximum magnetic energy, and obviously least or zero energy here, that is zero electrostatic energy. Now what happens? Now again, because here there is maximum current, right? So you can, now what will happen? Now again, this current will start charging this, right? Only thing is now the charging will happen in opposite direction. So in the next cycle, here, now the charging will start like this in the opposite direction. Now again it has started, or the current starts flowing here in this, and in the capacitor the charges gets accumulated, and now this time what will happen? It will be actually inverse of this situation. That is, the electrical energy which was here zero, that electrical potential energy will start increasing, and the magnetic potential energy will start decreasing, and ultimately there will be a point where these two energies are again equal, right? And then ultimately what will happen? Again, this capacitor will get fully charged. So whatever was the charge initially, the same charge will be set up again. So that means what? Now again here, this is fully charged, and here there is no current, or now there is no magnetic energy here. So again, what happened now? The UB became zero, and again you have UE, which is maximum. Now this and this, they are same. These two are same situation. And if we are able to make this happen periodically, that is with a set or with a fixed time period, or in a fixed time period, if these things happen, then we can see that we achieve, or we finally come up with a system where the electrical energy and the magnetic energy, both of these, there is a variation in them, right? So it is like this. So suppose electrical energy increases and magnetic energy decreases. And after that, when magnetic energy reaches its minimum, then again magnetic energy increases and electrical energy decreases, right? So this keeps on happening. And or you can say that the electrical energy and the magnetic energy and electric energy, both, they actually vibrate between the maximum and minimum values, but the total of these two always remain same, because there is no external source of energy here. So whatever energy is here, the same energy is getting changed from magnetic to electrical, and from electrical to magnetic, right? So we can say that the value of electrical and magnetic field, they are actually varying or oscillating between zero and maximum value. This type of device is actually responsible for generating or causing this oscillations of energies, and that's why such devices are called LC oscillators. LC oscillators because it consists of L and C. Now the question comes, what is the purpose of this? What is the use of such devices, right? So that is simple. Use of such devices is actually to create these oscillations of electrical energy and magnetic energy. And now you compare it with EM waves. That is electromagnetic waves. Waves are what? Waves are disturbances. Disturbances means what? Disturbances means energy. So if you want to suppose there is a water here and you want to disturb it, so you'll have to spend some energy and provide your energy to that water, and then there is a disturbance in that water and the waves are created. So that's what disturbance, or that's what waves are. Waves are nothing but disturbances. So you are actually creating these disturbances, or you are actually created oscillations. Oscillations are responsible for waves also. So you are creating electrical waves and magnetic waves, both originating from the same source or a same device, right? And this is what we need in FM transmitters or in your radio transmitters. So radio transmitters actually use this circuit. That is, or you can say the backbone of that radio transmitters is nothing but these oscillators. So based on value of L and C, there will be different frequencies which we will get, and that is responsible for broadcasting radio signals. So we have actually seen two devices, one LCR series circuit and another LC oscillators. So LC oscillators will be used in those antennas which are set up by these FM people, right? So in these antennas, which you must have seen somewhere in earlier days, so here, what will they have? They'll have LC oscillators, right? And in your radio device, so there will be the device which will be here, that will be actually LCR series circuit. So this is your receiver and this is the broadcaster circuit. So that's what that is actually the application of these two circuits or these two devices, LC oscillator here and LCR series circuit here. LCR series circuit is your receiver circuit and LC oscillators is your broadcasting service. From here, as you have already seen, the electromagnetic waves are generated and they come here and they are received by this LCR series circuit. So these are the carrier waves for your sound, and other signals are actually fed on these electromagnetic waves, and those waves come here, or they are actually broadcasted in all the directions, and these receivers receive that, right? So this is what LC oscillators is, and that's all about this chapter. So that's all about your alternating current chapter. Okay.